All right, so here we go. Find the center and the radius. We're on the back of page 1. Find the center and the radius. So, who remembers anything about this? We gotta clean up this equation. Put all the x's together and leave a blank, because you know we're going to be finding a new number. And we're gonna put our y's together and leave a blank. The 6 is already over there, so we're just going to leave it there. And of course, if I have 2 blanks on the left, I have to have 2 blanks on the right, because this is an equation. Okay, so here we go. I gotta fill in these blanks. Who remembers how that works? Half of this number, the plain x, half of 4 is 2, and then I square it, so I get 4. Now, do not get confused by the negative. Remember, you are squaring, so it's never going to be negative. That number's never going to be negative, because you're squaring to get it. All right, so what's going to go here? 49. Half of 14, 7 squared, 49. Now, these guys right here make a parenthesis squared, an x parenthesis squared. Right? What's going to go in that parentheses? X minus 2. Now, why does it have to be 2? Because 2 squared gives you the 4, right? Plus, do the same thing with the y's. What's this one going to be? Y minus 7. And then add all that up, and that is what, 59? So our center, remember it's opposite, so the center is at positive 2, positive 7, and the radius is the square root of that number. This number is always r squared, so the radius is the square root of 59. And that was the question. That's what you're trying to answer. All right, now we've got another one. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. Now, this one, don't be confused. It's a little bit different because why? There's no plain y, but that's okay. We know how to deal with that. If there's no plain y, then we're just going to put in a 0 for our center, right? We don't need to worry about the blanks and all that. So x squared plus 10x plus blank. I group my x's together. My y squared is just my y squared. There's nothing to group with it. And the 4 has to go to the other side. There's nothing to group with that y squared. So he just sits there by himself. Now I have one blank to fill in. So what's going to go in that blank? 25. And then I'm ready. I only have one parentheses. Who is this? Oh, let's see, got it. I only have one parentheses, and that's going to be what? What parentheses is this going to be? X plus 5. Yep. Plus my y squared. You can't leave him out, but he's just there. There's no parentheses. It's just y squared equals 29. So, for problem 2, what is my center? Negative 5, 0. There's no parentheses, nothing there, so it's just 0. And what's my radius? Square root of 29. All right, so one problem on the quiz will be exactly like that. Got it? Okay, now, what about the second problem on the quiz? Well, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to come up with the equation based on the radius and the center that you're given. So you got a circle, the center is -4, 3, and the radius is 6. Can you come up with an equation like this? What's that gonna be? If this is the center, we're gonna have what? X plus 4 squared, and then plus y minus 3 squared equals 36. Remember that, no, here, RJ, they're not back there yet, I just handed it out. So r squared, this number right here, is r squared. So r squared would be 36, that's it. There's really no work for that problem. All right, what about this one? With the center at 0, -2, and a radius √19. What's that equation going to look like? X squared. Now, if you want, you can do this. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. You see how it's the same thing now? So if you, most times we just put plain X squared. All right, plus what? Y, not Y minus, so it would have to be Y plus, because our center is always the opposite, right? So Y plus, and then what's it gonna equal over here? What goes here? This number is always r squared. So what happens when you square the square root of 19? You don't need a calculator. It's just 19. Remember, if you square a square root, it's just the number. So that is the equation. Okay? All right, so two questions, and that's what they're gonna look like. Okay. Now, back to your notes, we have a little bit of work to do with the, where are your notes? With the parabola. We started the parabola yesterday, and we talked about finding the vertex and the focus and all that stuff. Okay, so let's get ourselves in parabola mode now. Do you remember that parabolas only have one squared term? So, for example, I'm just making this up. We might have y plus 5 squared equals -10 x minus 3. That's what a parabola equation looks like. Remember that from yesterday? And if this was the problem, this is not the answer to the first question. This is stuff I made up. But if this were the equation, where would the vertex be? 3, -5. Yep, 3, -5. Just like with a circle, or we call it the vertex and not the center. Okay, so here's what's happening in this problem 4A. We have a focus at the point -2, 3. That's our focus. We have a vertex at the point 1, 3. From that information, you need to be able to tell me which way our parabola opens. Now think about, look at your notes, think about what we talked about yesterday when we drew these pictures. This is my vertex. This is my focus. Which way does this parabola have to open? Where's the focus always? Where's the focus of your parabola? Isn't it always inside? Isn't the focus always inside? So if if this guy has to be inside, aren't we opening like this, guys? Isn't that the way that's opening? And we know that the vertex is 1, 3. So doesn't that automatically mean that my x parentheses is x minus 1, and my y parentheses is y minus 3? Would everybody agree with that? If my vertex is 1, 3, isn't that what I have to have in my parentheses? Now, one of those parentheses is squared. Work backwards, think about your rules. You've told me it's opening to the left. Which kind of parabola opens to the left? With an x squared or a y squared? A y squared. So I'm going to put a squared on my y parentheses. We do not put a squared on the other one because in a parabola only one is squared. Okay? Now, the only thing missing from this equation is the extra number that's hooked on to the unsquared parabola or unsquared variable. Look at the two that we did right at the top of the page. Do you see the extra number? In problem G, it's -10. In problem H, it's 2. And that extra number is always hooked onto the parentheses that isn't squared. So I need to figure out what that number is. Now, one thing you know about it already, since it's opening to the left, I know that number has to be negative. Because isn't left a negative direction? Left and down are negatives. So whatever it is, I know it's negative. How far is it from my focus to my vertex? In other words, what's that distance right there? Count it out. I know we don't have a graph for that one, but how far is it if we're at -2, 3, and we march over to 1, 3? How far is that? 3? So this distance right here is what we call P, and P is 3. Anybody remember anything about that number? What's special about that number? That number is always 4P. That number is always 4P. This number right here is always 4P. And that's just something you got to remember. It's always 4P. Well, wait a second. If I know P is 3, then what's 4P going to be? 4 times 3, which is 12. And there's the answer to the question. That's it. That's your equation. Okay, try to think about all this now, guys. All right, here we go. Let's look at the next one. We have a vertex at -1, 2. That's our, oh wait, yeah, that's our vertex. -1, 2. By the way, stop right there. Doesn't that mean your x parentheses is x plus 1? And your y parentheses is y minus 2? Don't you have that already? Just from knowing the vertex? Okay. The directrix is y equals 6. Remember, the directrix is a line. And since it's y equals, it's going to cross the y-axis at 6. Got gotta figure out which way it opens. Now that's the vertex. So you gotta figure out, does it open up, left, right, or down? Which way is this one going to open? Think about what you've drawn here so far. What do you think? Gabe?
Right.
He thinks it opens right. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and draw it. It does not open right. That's a good guess. I'm gonna go ahead and draw it right. Do you see what happens here if I draw it to the right? It intersects.
Yeah.
It never touches its directrix. Remember, from yesterday, if we had a parabola, let's say that opened up like this, there was the focus inside the parabola, and the directrix was the other direction, so if we went up 2, we went down 2. Remember that? So it's not gonna ever intersect, so it does not open to the right. It has to open in a way that it won't ever intersect the directrix. So what do you think? Q is back there going like this. Does it make sense that this would open down away from its directrix? Does that make sense? I handed this out earlier. Okay. Another way to think about it is, kids, if this is my vertex, I'm going up to get to my directrix. So if I go up to get to my directrix, don't I have to go down to get to my focus? So my focus is down here, and the parabola has to open with the focus inside. Okay, is it starting to come clear why it's got to be down? Now, if it's down, which variable is squared? With parentheses, x or y, if I'm going down? The x is squared. So this is squared, and then I have to figure out this number that's on the parentheses that's not squared. Now, what does down mean about that number? I don't know what that number is yet, but what does down mean? It's negative. Down is a negative direction. And think about what we did yesterday. Isn't this distance, the distance we go up to the directrix, the same as this distance? Isn't that the same thing? Well, what is this distance? If we're at the vertex, which is left 1, up 2, and I have to go up to this line, which is where y is 6, what is that distance? How far up did I go? 4? And then I would go down 4 in this direction, and that's P. So what's the number that goes in this blank? If P is 4, then this number is going to be 16. There you go. There's your equation. Okay, let's look at the next one. I think a picture really helps. So that's why I left some room in there for you to draw a picture, kind of get a feeling for what's happening. So what do we got? We got a focus. You have to be careful. That's the focus at -1, 3. That's the focus. That's not the vertex. The vertex is what we put in the parentheses. That's not it. That's the focus. And the directrix is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my directrix. Now it's x equals 7. So I count out to 7 on the x-axis and draw it. There it is. X equals 7. Okay? Now, tell me what you know about this, Brennan.
Well, the focus is in the direction of where the parabola is. So the parabola is going to the left.
Yes, very good. He says his parabola is going to Because the focus has to be inside of it. And it opens away from its directrix because it can't touch its directrix. So if this is the directrix, we have to open away from it, around the focus. Beautiful, beautiful. Because it opens to the left, which of my, I have an X parentheses and a Y parentheses, which one is squared? The Y is squared. So my extra number goes over here, and it's gonna be negative. Would everybody agree with that? Left is negative. Now, in order to fill in the parentheses, I need to know the vertex, right? What is the relationship between the focus, the directrix, and the vertex? Where's the vertex going to be located? Right in the middle? Right in the middle? So this x is -1. This x is 7. What is the middle x for -1 and 7? 3. -1 plus 7 is 6. Half of 6 is 3. So my x is 3. Now, look at these 2 points, guys. If this was on graph paper, wouldn't this one also, wouldn't the y also be a 3? Because they're right in a line with each other? Perfect. Now, the only thing left we have to figure out is this number. We know it's negative, but we don't know what it is. But we know that it's always 4p. And we know that this distance right here is p. Well, what is that distance? How far is it from -1 to 3? How many steps do I go? I'm going in the x direction. So -1 to 3 is how many steps? No, -1 to 3 is 4 steps. Think of a number line. You're on -1. You got to get to 0, and then 1, 2, 3. So that's 4 steps. If p is 4, then this guy is a 16. And here it is. There are a lot of little things to keep track of. But the good news is we do everything the same way every time. We just have to think about each of those little steps. All right, so what's next? So now we have a focus at 2, 3, -3, and a directrix at y equals -5. I'm going to draw a picture of that so I can get a feeling for what's going on. So 2, -3. And again, that is your focus. So please don't put that in parentheses. That number is not this. This is the vertex. And my directrix is y equals -5. So here's -5, y equals -5. Based on that, you should be able to tell whether the parabola opens up, down, left, or right. So think about what you know. Which way is it open? I see fingers going like this, up. Remember, it opens around its focus and away from the directrix. So it's got to open away from this, around that, so it's going to open up like this. This point right here is going to be the vertex. We need to figure that out. Our equation will have one squared variable, some number, and a not squared variable. That's what parabola equations look like. Because it's opening up, which variable is the squared one? X. And because it opens up, whatever this number works out to be, it's going to be positive, because up is positive. So now I need to figure out what goes in the parentheses, and that's going to be this number right here. Okay? Now, the vertex is going to be right in the middle of these. Would you agree with that? So any thoughts about, let's see, that's -3, this is -5. Any thoughts about what that point might be, the vertex there, right in the middle? Y is -2. That would be up here, wouldn't it? Well, isn't the x going to be the same as that x? Aren't we going over 2? And then we got to be halfway between -3 and -5? What's halfway between -3 and -5? -4. Yep. I probably should have put graph paper on there, so you would have easier time of counting. But if we go up 1 and down 1, doesn't that work out? By the way, that up 1 is my p. So my p is 1. What number goes right here? 4. Oops, I never filled in my parentheses either. So this will be x -2 and y +4. You okay with that? All right, would you look at page 2 of the practice packet that I just gave you? Page 2, front side, page 2. It's got a circle problem on it, but we already did that, so I want to look at the parabola problems here. At least some of them, maybe not all of them. If you need that paper, if you would refer to, it helps you to have graph paper, come grab a sheet right here, a bunch of graphs on there. And we're gonna do problem 2 up there at the top. We're gonna do this guy right here. So this is a little parabola review. And you need to find vertex, focus, directrix, and focal width. All right, so here we go. We have our equation. I believe that of the things you need to find, I think these 2, you can tell me bingo, right off the bat, even without knowing anything. Ayrton, would you put your hand up, please? All right, the vertex is 2, -3. Does everybody see that? 2, -3. What about the focal width? You should be able to tell me that too. So what's the focal width? 8. That number is the focal width. If that number happens to be negative, make it positive. Okay? Now, I think I'm just gonna draw it, figure out what's going on. So you said my vertex was a 2, -3. Which way do I open? Up. Why do I know I open up? Because it's x squared and it's positive. Now, this is my axis of symmetry. They didn't ask me for that in the directions, but that's the line where x is 2. And it's kind of important for me to put it in there because isn't my focus somewhere on there? And I will tell you where the focus is as soon as I figure out how far up I need to go. That distance is P. In every equation of a parabola, that number is 4P. So if 4P is 8, then what's P? 2. So I'm going to start right here at that point, and I'm going to go up 1, 2. Where will I be if I go up 2, straight up from that point right there? Where will I be? 2, -1. And that is your focus. 2, -1. We went straight up 2 units. Now, if I went straight up 2 units to get my focus, what am I going to do to get my directrix? Go down 2. And it's a line, and it will be a line y equals something as it crosses the y-axis. So start right here and count down to, where am I going to be? Y equals what? -5. And that's your directrix. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's do, on that same page, down there at the bottom, the one that says, almost right, y plus 1 squared equals 4x minus 3. Okay, on that same page, just down at the bottom, one of the problems at the bottom, we're going to do that parabola. On page 2, here we go. Again, we're going to find vertex, focus, directrix, and focal width. Those are the things. If your blood is flowing today, you can answer these two, boom, boom. These two require no work. The vertex is 3, -1. Very good. Sometimes we don't pay attention and we get those flipped around. Always the x number first. So 3, -1.